Hello, listeners, and welcome to the Bucket List Podcast. My name's Morgan, and I am joined by Dylan, Jeff, Sarah, and Ethan to chat about some things that we want to accomplish in our lifetimes. There will also be two surprise guests from campus that will share their desires. But first, I have a little background on the term bucket list. It sounds like a grim phrase, and, well, it kind of is. Back in the Middle Ages, it was common for people to be hanged as a way of execution. So the executioner would actually kick a bucket from under the victim and, well, that would be the end. In better words, the goal of this list is to make the most out of life, filling it with rewarding moments. After this episode, we hope you feel inspired to explore further and dream bigger. Don't forget, before you kick the bucket, knock an item off your bucket list. Think of a moment when you felt so truly happy. Maybe your cheeks hurt from smiling, you felt your heart beating, you were speechless in awe, or maybe you were surrounded in complete peace. It seems like these surreal moments of intense joy become life's best memories. That's why I think bucket lists are so inspirational to have. This list of to-dos fits one's personality and what they believe would provide that true happiness that feels so unreal. Now, there are obviously simple things that make me smile often, like getting a parking spot close to my dorm, seeing puppies on a run, or even getting an RC wrap for lunch. For my bucket list, though, there are two major things that I want to do. I would really like to someday go skydiving and to run a marathon. Okay, so I know that these actually sound really terrifying, and yes, they scare me too. But isn't the point of a bucket list to dream big? It excites me to think of the overwhelming feelings that might happen, might come to be while I actually do these events. Skydiving is a popular bucket list item for people, I think because of the adrenaline rush, and this rush is most likely because of that first step out of a plane, because you never know what might happen. It would be awesome to have that exhilarating freedom and to feel like you're flying, which I think is really the big selling point for skydiving. People really want to feel that happiness and joy, saying afterward that they actually did that. They actually took the leap. With the marathon, even though it sounds exhausting, I have loved distance running for a number of years. My passion for running is actually because of the freedom that's involved with the sport. I simply also think it would be a milestone to accomplish a marathon, just because that is such a physical feat that not a lot of people really get to accomplish. It also takes a lot of time commitment and passion to pursue that. Now, in general, think of what makes a moment in one's life really special. It seems like happy memories come from the experiences that make you feel most alive. It's exciting for people to do something that is kind of rare, to actually step out of their own boundaries and try to do. You know, with my marathon and skydiving, not a lot of people want to take that jump, and I think that was kind of exciting for me. It sounds enticing to dream that big. Maybe it's inspiring for people to want to accomplish things in their life that others cannot. This is because people want to have experiences that only a few have the passion and commitment to pursue. I think this makes the moment even more surreal.
What's up, guys? My name is Dylan. One item I have on my bucket list is to attend one game from each of the following events: a World Series, the Super Bowl, and an NBA championship. Baseball, football, and basketball are arguably among the top sports in America right now. These three games represent the ultimate competition in which the best of the best from each respective sport give their all in a 7-game series, one for football, obviously. One can only imagine what the atmosphere would be like in such a high-stakes environment. Everyone from one city is gathered in support of their home team, doing everything that they can to get inside the minds of the opponent. Whether it's drinking a beer or two with your buddy or being with your family, everyone is having a good time regardless of the score. These aren't just your average playoff games either. There can only be one winner when the season is over, and the championship matchup is sure to go down in the history books. Some issues, not only this idea, but most bucket lists, are the constraints that hold you back from completing them. Time is always an issue. Some people don't start performing things on their bucket lists until it's too late. Maybe your schedule just doesn't line up to where you can attend these games. If I am seriously going to pursue this bucket list idea, the games would all have to be in a city located relatively close to me. I would probably be willing to drive 8 hours or so to experience a game. Otherwise, I would need to fly. I would also need to be financially stable before I can begin thinking about attending one of these games, as tickets easily surpass the $1,000 price range for seats in the normally cheaper seats.
Yeah, I love it. I think that as a sports fan myself, that it would be incredible to be in an atmosphere like that. I mean, you watch it on TV and you think, wow, these people are so lucky to be able to witness something like that. And I think that your point about it needing to be relatively close to do it, I think that if your team that you support is in the game, it makes you that much more inclined to go. It makes you think, okay, I can spend a little bit more money on this, or I'll drive a little farther to go to this game if it's my team. So I'm not only experiencing the atmosphere, but I'm also, rooting on my team. And the Super Bowl is a completely different thing than anything else. I think in American sports or maybe around the world, the Super Bowl is such a spectacle, and everybody is watching the Super Bowl. And it's micro-managed down to the commercials and the halftime show and everything. It's such a spectacle, and I think it'd be great to be a part of it.
Okay, so obviously I would love to see my team in one of these events, but where my teams are from, they're from Dallas, Boston. They're not really close to where I would be willing to drive and see them play in person. I've never flown before, but that could be adjusted, obviously. Places I'm thinking about attending would be Cleveland, D.C., New York, somewhere you can go and make a trip out of that week or weekend that's not strictly going to the event.
So then how about if your team is playing at Cleveland, perhaps, or at D.C. or one of the places that you are willing to go? Does that make you more inclined to go there?
Well, yeah, obviously, because that's closer. That would be what I would like as a part of.
So are you thinking that you want to go to these games at certain places? Like if it's so you like the Dallas Cowboys, right? So if they have a home playoff game or the Super Bowl is at Dallas, that's where you want it. You want it to be your team's in it. It's at their stadium. Or the Celtics. You like the Celtics. So you're wanting to go to Game 7 in TD Garden of the NBA Finals, and that's when you'd go all out? Or are you thinking, one year I'm just going to decide, okay, I want to see the NBA Finals this year. It's a great matchup. It might be some of the games are in Cleveland or Toronto maybe. Toronto's not that far from here. Are you saying I want to see my team in it, or I just want to see it? I want to see a great matchup. I want to see great basketball. Or I want to see great football.
I'm not so concerned with seeing my team necessarily. I want to witness history. Wherever the cards play out to where I can attend it, where I'm financially stable, it's somewhere located that I can go, and I think there's going to be a good game happening. I'm going.
And witness history is a very good way to put it, because it's one of those things where it's one of those moments where you remember where you were when it happened. Whether people remember, I was watching it in my basement with my dad, or I was out at the local bar watching it with my buddies. When people talk about what happened during that moment, you'll be able to say, I was at the game, and I saw that shot go in, or I saw him catch that pass. And that is a really cool thing. My bucket list, I think when a lot of people talk about what's on their bucket list, travel-related things are probably the most popular answer. A lot of people have the desire to travel in some capacity, whether it's domestically and around the world. And if we're talking about going to sporting events like Dylan said, then that is something that would involve travel, because unless you live in a metropolitan area where the team that's playing in the game just happens to be down the road from you or in your city, you're going to have to do some traveling. For me, travel is exactly what's on my bucket list. I think a road trip across the United States would be so much fun. A lot of people say they want to travel the world, but to me, I'm more intrigued about what can be found within the borders of the United States. I'd rather take a trip across the U.S. I mean, think about it. We live in upstate New York right now, or at least I live in upstate New York right now, and it's beautiful here. And there's a lot of things here that people in other parts of the country wouldn't be able to see. But then thinking about it, there's so much more in the country alone. I'd love to see the West Coast. I'd love to see the Rocky Mountains and all the cities and wildlife that are scattered across the 2,000 or whatever miles in this nation from coast to coast. And going back to the sports thing, I think a really cool thing on the trip would be to visit as many Major League Baseball ballparks as possible. It probably wouldn't be plausible to hit every single one, but a cross-country trip could account for a lot of them and some of my personal favorites. Being a huge sports fan, especially baseball, it'd be a really cool thing. And I think that whether it's playoff atmosphere or not, just being in the different ballparks and the different arenas that you see on television and you watch so much, just being there is so much different. I can remember the first time I went to Yankee Stadium after watching countless baseball games there. It's just, you see the different things that you see on television and the interworkings of the place, and it just makes it feel a lot more lifelike. And I think that whether we're talking about going to playoff games or going visits to a city just to see a stadium, to see an arena, if basketball is more your thing, or hockey, seeing it in person really brings it to life more. I think that's really cool. And if there's anything I love more than baseball, it's food. And getting to try all the different food, drink that the nation has to offer would just be really cool in my opinion. Like I said, with the geography differing across the country, it's so much more than that. There's so many different kinds of cuisine you can find. You go to the West Coast with seafood, or even Maine with seafood. In the South, you can get some Cajun cooking or whatever you find across the country, some barbecue. In Texas, it'd just be really cool. And there's so many things that you don't even think of that you would encounter along the way, and the people you meet, and the different dialects you hear, different accents. I just think it would be a really cool thing to do. And I'd like to see urban and rural America. I've been to New York City before. I'd like to see Los Angeles. I'd like to see Chicago. I'd like to see cities like Houston and Dallas and Nashville in the South. And I think that seeing big metropolitan areas like that is a completely different experience than from what I've had most of my life. But the United States isn't just urban areas. There's a lot of rural areas across the United States, and millions of people who have stories to tell and that they want to share with people. And I think that that's really intriguing to me, and it's something that I'd really like to experience over my life.
Hey everyone, it's Sarah, and before I dive right into my bucket list items, I just wanted to start out by saying that many people all over the world create bucket lists. Bucket lists can be a number of experiences or achievements that a person hopes to have or accomplish during their lifetime. Sometimes items on a bucket list can be rather ordinary, like traveling to an exotic destination or witnessing a major sporting event. Sometimes bucket list items are a bit more ambitious, like learning to pilot a jet or climbing Mount Everest. People often create bucket lists as they become older, but I personally think it's better to write down the things you want to accomplish as you grow, so you will ultimately be able to achieve them all in the end. 2 things I have put on my bucket list include traveling across Europe and attending an Olympics. These items may not be as ambitious like I mentioned above, but they are definitely things I would love to do one day. Why I choose to travel across Europe as an item on my bucket list would be because I've never really experienced traveling outside of the country before, besides my trips to Canada, of course. I would love to experience all the different cultures in the many different areas in Europe. Specific places I would love to see in Europe would include Italy and Greece. They are such beautiful places. I would especially love to try all the food Italy and Greece is known for. Pizza, pasta, gelato, Mediterranean food, yum. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. I'd like to accomplish this goal either in a study abroad program here at St. Bonaventure or take time, maybe a month or 2 after I graduate from Bonas, and fulfill this goal. The second thing on my bucket list would include going to an Olympics. I grew up watching the Olympics on TV and cheering on the United States. So actually being able to be in that crowd and cheering on your home country would be such a surreal moment for me. I also really enjoy watching and playing sports, so this would definitely be something I would love to do. I'm not sure if I had to choose between going to a Summer Olympics or Winter Olympics, what one I would personally choose, but that's for sure something I would have to figure out. I don't have a specific time planned out for when I would like to go to an Olympics, but I would like to go at least once at some point in my lifetime.